In this tutorial we'll look at the Hot Potato software suite. Hot Potatoes is basically a piece of authoring software which teachers can use to create online tests and quizzes, and you would typically create an exercise in Hot Potatoes before uploading them to somewhere like Moodle so that students can access the materials via the web. We're going to concentrate on using Hot Potatoes in this tutorial, and more specifically we're going to look at how to create a gap fill activity using a Hot Potatoes tool called jcloze. So the first thing we have to do is to locate the Hot Potatoes icon on our computer screens, and I think for most people the icon will be on the desktop. So this is what the icon looks like, and if you double click it, it will open the splash screen. Now on this screen you have access to the different types of Hot Potato tool, and if I hover my mouse over each of the different potatoes that you can see here, each of the different tools, you can see a short summary of what the tools are designed for. And as I said, we're creating a gap fill, so I'll hover the mouse over jcloze and you'll see that this is used to create a fill in the blanks activity. What I now need to do is to double click on that icon. This opens the screen up for me, the user interface, and well, we can jump straight in. We would typically begin by providing a title for the text that we're going to use in the gap fill activity. So I'm going to call it urbanization because that's the nature of the text I'm going to use, and I've actually copied some text from a Word document all about urbanization, so I can simply just left click and then click on paste, and that pastes the text in for me. And so what I now want to do is to choose the words which I would like to feature as a blank in the actual exercise, and I can do that simply by highlighting the word and clicking gap. At this stage I'm invited to provide clues, and this will help the student guess the word. So there, I suppose you could include a synonym of some kind or a definition, and if it's possible to include more than one word, then you could include it here under alternative correct answers. I'm going to leave this blank for now. I'm simply going to click OK, and then I'll choose another word and click gap. Same process applies for all of the words that you want to turn into gaps. You just simply highlight them, click gap, and then it's up to you if you want to provide clues and alternatives. Assuming that I'm not actually happy with the gaps I've made, I could clear all of those gaps simply by clicking clear gaps down here. It asks me if I want to remove all of the gaps. I click yes, and you can see that the gaps, which were represented by the red text in italics, has now gone. If I'm not feeling particularly inspired, I can always click on auto gap, and what this does is it will allow me to make a gap every nth word, so it's up to me to specify how often those gaps should appear. So I can say, for example, that there should be a gap every fifth word, so I'll type 5 in the box, click OK, and there you see that every fifth word is now in red italics, which tells us that these have been effectively blanked out. So let's assume that this is a text I want to use in my activity. I can now go to File, and I can click Save As, and I'm going to navigate to my desktop. This is where I'm going to save the Hot Potatoes file, so I'll call it urbanization, or urban for short. You'll notice that I'm actually saving it as a jcloze file. That's the only option I can use at this point, and I'll click save, and the Hot Potatoes file is now saved on my desktop, and I can go back to it and edit this exercise whenever I want. You can also click on this button here, which allows you to effectively create a web page. You'll see that It's going to save this as a web page, a HTML file. The name has been auto-completed for me. I'm also going to save this to the desktop. And I now get the opportunity to view the exercise in my browser, which means I can effectively see what it will look like as a web page. And remember, hot potatoes will effectively be used to create web pages. This is the web page that I've just created. You can see that every fifth word there's a gap which I'm expected to fill. So let me try this out by the middle of the 21st century. Let me just check that. Okay, I've obviously got this right. You can see that it's been highlighted in bold to say that the word is correct. And you'll see that I've got 7% so far. You'll also see that according to this message there are a number of incorrect answers, and what that actually means is I haven't completed the exercise just yet, so I'll press OK. And this is what the student will see when you've completed your activity and uploaded it to Moodle. It's also possible to create paper-based activities. I can, for example, export this activity for printing. You'll see I get this message, the exercise has been copied to the clipboard, and I can now paste it into a word processor. So if I just bring up a word processing page, let me see if I can create, right click and then paste, and you can see that I've got hot potatoes activity, gap fill activity all ready to go, and it's editable, so I can take the title urbanization and make it more prominent. You'll see that these are all the words which have been gapped, so the students would have to find these words, find the correct space for these words in the text. You don't have to give them that, you can delete it if you want, and you've got the key down here. Again, this is something you can delete or just save as a teacher's copy. And that's essentially how you'd create a very basic cloze activity using hot potatoes.